You know, that feeling, right? That familiar, maybe quiet ache when you think about certain relationships. Partner, parent, friend, whoever.
Hmm.
You wish things were just easier, smoother, and maybe you spent a lot of time thinking, if only they would change.
It's so common. We tend to look outwards. If they acted differently, then everything would be fine.
Exactly. But what if the real leverage isn't out there? What if it's, well, closer to home? Today, we're doing a deep dive into a source that argues something pretty powerful.
Which is?
That healing your relationships with others really truly begins with the relationship you have with yourself.
Okay. And this perspective comes from someone with a really interesting background, right?
Started as a yoga teacher.
Yeah, in New York City. And she saw this incredible link between people's physical tension,
Mm-hmm.
tight shoulders, clenched jaws, and their emotional struggles, especially in relationships.
That mind-body connection.
Totally. She noticed that when people worked on the physical stuff, through movement, through breath, it often unlocked emotional shifts. It changed how they related to others. And that observation, plus maybe some frustration with traditional therapy approaches that didn't always emphasize
Mm-hmm.
personal accountability,
Right.
that led her to relationship coaching.
Right. She calls herself more of a mentor, helping people build the skill of healthy love. Her own journey fed into it, too.
Makes sense.
So, our mission today is to unpack that core idea. Changing relationships starts inside. We'll pull out key lessons, some really relatable stories from the source, and see how this actually plays out.
All right, let's get into it. The central truth, maybe a little tough to swallow at first, but ultimately freeing. The source says, every single relationship you've ever had, it has one constant element.
You.
You.
Mm.
And like you said, it's not about blame, it's about power.
How so?
Well, if you're the common element, you're also the part you can actually change. It moves you from feeling like a victim of your past, your parents, bad partners, to realizing you have agency.
Okay, so taking responsibility isn't admitting fault, it's reclaiming influence.
Precisely. And think about past heartbreaks. The source suggests they aren't just bad luck. They're actually, well, they're like a curriculum.
A curriculum.
Yeah. Opportunities to see your patterns, your fears, your beliefs that might be blocking healthy love without you even knowing it.
So relationships become mirrors.
Exactly. They show you where your own inner work is needed.
Yep.
And if you change your reflection, the dynamic has to shift.
Okay, that's powerful frame. So if we need to look inward, what are some specific patterns the source points out? Where does this inner work usually lie? One big one is high reactivity.
Oh, yes. This is huge.
Yeah.
The example used is Jennifer. Her boyfriend, Tony, is generally reliable, but if he doesn't text back right away, she spirals.
Into anxiety.
Intense anxiety. Body reacts first, shoulders tense, jaw clenches, she talks faster. It's her nervous system getting triggered.
Right, likely by some old fear or belief, not necessarily by Tony's actual behavior in that moment.
Exactly. And the source says the practice isn't about suddenly becoming zen. It's about learning to pause. Notice the physical signs. Breathe. Question those automatic, often worst-case scenario thoughts before reacting. It takes practice.
Definitely takes practice. Okay, what else? That reactivity probably leads to other issues, right?
For sure. Like the classic blame game, Christina and Brad are the example here. She sees him as avoidant, shutting down. He feels constantly criticized, so he shuts down more.
The cycle. Each person sees the other as the problem.
But the insight is, it's rarely one person's fault. It's usually two people co-creating a dynamic. Christina had to look at her own part, like being glued to her phone when they could connect, or complaining when he called from a work trip. Her actions were contributing to the distance she hated.
Wow. So even if you feel totally justified, you have to be willing to see your role to break that cycle.
It's the only way out.
Okay, this next one is fascinating. The difference between chemistry and connection.
Yes. That intense initial spark, the infatuation,
It's so
it's so easy to mistake that for real deep love.
It feels so real, though.
It does. Think of Adam and Andrea. Adam was completely swept away by Andrea. Instant powerful chemistry. He basically ignored huge red flags like her admitting she dated guys just for free meals because he was so caught up.
He put her on a pedestal.
Exactly. And the source is really clear. Pedestals are bad news. You're not seeing the actual flawed human. You're seeing your projection.
So when they inevitably act human and fall off the pedestal.
Crash. Huge disappointment. Because you weren't seeing them clearly to begin with.
And Adam and Andrea also fell into another pattern the source mentions, playing house way too soon.
Right. Jumping immediately into acting like a long-term couple. Constant texting every weekend together, merging lives within days or weeks.
Why is that a problem? Isn't that what you want?
It often comes from wanting to skip the uncertainty, the discomfort of really getting to know someone slowly. But you miss building the actual foundation. Trust, safety, seeing how you handle real life, disagreements, stress before you're deeply attached. The source really advocates for taking it slow.
Build the foundation first.
Got it. Okay, another pattern. This one tied to self-worth. Chasing the unavailable.
Yes, while simultaneously avoiding people who are available, Jade's story illustrates this. She feared abandonment, didn't truly believe she was worthy deep down.
So she was drawn to.
Men who were emotionally distant, commitment shy kind of projects, and then if a genuinely kind, available guy showed interest.
She'd find reasons it wouldn't work.
Exactly. Because the underlying thought, often unconscious, is, what's wrong with him if he actually wants me? Chasing the unavailable feels safer somehow than risking rejection by someone healthy.
Wow, that's subtle but powerful, and that ties into another trap, the needless one.
Emma's the example, the go-with-the-flow girl. She thought having needs, even simple ones, like saying where she wanted dinner or asking for help, made her seem difficult or unattractive.
She just suppressed everything.
Pretty much. Suppress her voice, her opinions, her needs. But the insight is you can't build real intimacy that way. You're showing up as a facade. And paradoxically, that probably makes you feel more needy or unfulfilled in the long run.
Totally. Because you're not being seen or met authentically. Healthy relationships need two whole people showing up, needs included.
Okay. Then there's the comfort zone issue. Taking relationships for granted after the honeymoon phase.
Yes, Lauren's story. Super vibrant and her best self with friends and work colleagues.
But at home.
She'd unload all her stress onto her partner, Jess, kind of implicitly expecting Jess to manage her emotions.
Oof, that's tough.
Right. The insight is crucial. You are responsible for your own energy and well-being. If you consistently bring only your stressed, depleted self to your partner while giving your best elsewhere, it corrodes the connection. Your partner isn't your dumping ground.
You have to nurture yourself and bring that nurtured self home.
Exactly. And finally, a really hard truth the source emphasizes. You cannot convince someone to love you or commit.
That sounds blunt.
It is. But it addresses those painful patterns. The begging, the overgiving when you get little back, the endless situationships where one person just isn't sure.
Where does that come from? Trying to prove your worth.
Often, yes. Trying to earn love. The source basically says, stop. Stop trying harder to be chosen. Instead, choose yourself. Stand by your own side. Sometimes that means walking away from someone who is ambivalent.
Choose yourself by walking away. That's a big shift.
It is. And interestingly, so many of these patterns seem to trace back to our earliest relationships, don't they?
Absolutely. The source makes a really strong point here. Unresolved stuff with your parents will show up in your romantic life. The author even shares her own experience dating men who echoed her father's negative traits, moody, passive-aggressive.
It's like we unconsciously try to replay or fix those old childhood dynamics in our adult relationships.
So the key is learning to relate to parents differently, as an adult.
Yes, if it's possible, and safe, of course. Learning to see them not just as your parents, but as people with their own histories, their own limitations, their own childhoods. Getting curious about their story.
How does that help? Does it excuse their behavior?
Not necessarily excuse it, but it can foster empathy. More importantly, it helps you understand their limitations weren't actually about you.
Yeah.
It detaches you from those old narratives that might have told you you weren't good enough, or that love had to be earned in a certain way.
Like Gabriella, whose mom taught her girls don't cry, so she struggled with vulnerability.
Or James, whose dad's anger made him terrified of conflict, so he became the nice guy who couldn't speak hard truths to his own wife.
Those childhood messages become our internal blueprints for relationships.
Exactly. And healing means becoming aware of those blueprints, questioning them as an adult, and consciously choosing to draw a new map, one that reflects who you really are now.
Okay, so we recognize the patterns. We understand the roots in childhood.
Yeah.
What's the actual path forward? How do you do this choosing yourself?
Well, a huge piece is cultivating self-awareness as a superpower. Really noticing in the moment when you're triggered, identifying what is being triggered. Okay, that's my fear of abandonment talking, not reality.
Yeah.
Then it's about learning to kind of parent yourself in that moment. Responding with maturity and self-discipline, not just reacting from that old wound.
That requires real self-care then, but maybe not just bubble baths.
Right. True self-care, as the source defines it, is deeper. It's understanding your fundamental nature. Are you sensitive, a giver, an introvert? And then proactively building a life that honors that. Prioritizing rest, movement, good food, setting boundaries around energy drains.
The source even mentions co-regulating activities with a partner.
Yeah, like going for walks, exercising together. Things that soothe the nervous system can be powerful. Shared self-care, strengthening the bond.
I like that. And there's something else the source highlights that feels maybe overlooked. Embracing play.
Yes. Distinguishing between being childish, which is reactive, maybe selfish and childlike, which is curious, open, joyful, maybe a bit silly.
Play gets you out of your head.
Totally. Into the present moment. It fosters connection, lightness, aliveness. It's really important for well-being. And foundational to all this is learning to meet your own core needs. The source talks about universal human needs: safety, connection, validation, growth, adventure, contribution.
Things we often look to partners to fulfill exclusively.
Exactly. But the insight is, the more you learn to meet these needs for yourself in healthy ways, the less pressure you put on your relationships. You build this internal security. You become less needy, ironically.
That makes sense. Okay, this next idea challenges something I think many people believe, that you need to feel good about yourself before you can do hard things.
Right. The source flips that. It uses the metaphor of climbing a mountain.
You don't wait to feel strong enough?
No. You get strong by climbing. You don't wait to magically have self-love before you have that difficult conversation or go after that dream or break that pattern. You build self-love and self-respect through the act of courageously doing the hard thing, especially when you're scared.
The striving builds the self-esteem,
Mm.
not the other way around.
Precisely. And you can't really strive authentically if you're not being yourself, which brings us to the power of being yourself.
Like Jade shedding the armor, the makeup, the clothes she thought made her worthy.
Yes, the insight is profound.
Yeah.
Hiding who you are, even parts you think are flawed, prevents real connection. You can't be truly seen or loved if you're wearing a costume. Authenticity is the bedrock.
And that authenticity requires speaking your truth, even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard.
Mm.
Having those necessary conversations, aiming for connection, not winning, is vital for relationship health and for your own integrity. Avoiding truth because you fear conflict or rejection just breeds resentment and disconnection.
And self-betrayal.
Deep self-betrayal. Sometimes speaking your truth might risk the relationship, but the source argues it's necessary to save yourself.
Okay, so if we pull all these threads together, what does choosing yourself really look like in practice?
It's an active verb, right? It means setting boundaries clearly and consistently. It means having the guts to walk away from dynamics that consistently hurt you or diminish you.
It means prioritizing your own peace over keeping someone else comfortable at your expense.
Refusing to audition for love or prove your worth. Showing up as you are. Loving with less ego involved.
Chasing your own dreams and purpose instead of unavailable people.
Exactly. It's taking radical responsibility for your own life, your own happiness, your own well-being, and asserting your worth simply because you exist. Not out of selfishness, but because that's the only solid ground to build healthy connections on.
The source also touches on prioritizing purpose over happiness, right? That pursuing contribution or growth might be more sustainable for well-being.
Yeah. It's a brief point, but a powerful one. Chasing happiness can be elusive, but engaging with purpose, with contributing something meaningful, often brings a deeper sense of fulfillment.
It feels like a good place to land. So wrapping up this deep dive, the core message from this source is pretty clear.
It really is. Healing relationships. It starts inside. It's not about fixing the other person.
It's about radical self-awareness, finding the courage to look at our own patterns, understanding how the past shapes us.
And then making those conscious choices, day by day, to show up as our higher selves, as our most authentic, mature selves.
And the good news is, it's not about being perfect. It's a practice. You don't have to have it all figured out.
Not at all. Wherever you are, whatever your history, change is possible.
Yeah.
It just takes that willingness to look inward and decide to do things differently.
It definitely requires courage, maybe some discipline too.
For sure. But it offers the possibility of breaking those old painful cycles and actually building the kind of healthy, fulfilling connections most of us are longing for.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening, something to mull over this week.
Yeah.
What's one small thing, just one specific step you can take, maybe even today, to consciously choose yourself? Or maybe show up just a tiny bit differently in one relationship, knowing that this inward turn is where the real transformation begins.